Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Marketing Podcast, the show where we help you establish your author brand, increase the size of your audience, and sell more books. I'm Lindsay Baroker, and I'm here with Jeffrey Poole and Joe Lalo. And this week we do not have a guest, and we're late. It's Thursday instead of our usual Tuesday because somebody was on vacation. No names. But we thought we'd just kind of do maybe a shorter show and talk amongst ourselves about we're all in some bundles now or coming up, and thought we'd talk about using that as a marketing tactic and just kind of check in and talk about what we've been doing for the last couple months because we've had guests, the last few weeks. So we are still selling books even when we are talking to other people on the show. So hey guys, how's it going? And let us know if there's anything new in your publishing lives.
Well, for me, since I'm still having, apparently I did such a terrible job writing my sixth book, it's still being edited. I'm actually almost done with my seventh book. So for me, I'm actually getting close to releasing two at almost the same time. So to me, that's quite amazing. Earlier this week, I found out I got accepted into SIFWA, so very happy about that. That's about it for me going on here.
I got a few things. A week from today, my next book release comes out. It's a book called Skykeep, which is a sequel to Free Wrench, which is my steampunk series, and that's been on pre-order for a while. I'll talk about that in some of the later section here, and that's really the main thing.
All right. Is your first one still perma-free in that series?
It is free until I'm going to keep it free until April.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious how that was working and if you were getting a bunch of pre-orders.
Yep, that's one of my things that worked, which will be coming up soon.
I don't want to no spoilers. We've got carefully planned notes here.
Yeah, we're getting more professional.
And Jeff, are both of yours in the same series? Is that like books 3 and 4 or?
Essentially, yes.
Cool. Well, you should get like a nice little income from.
Yeah, especially. Yeah, the reason that I'm just about done essentially would be my seventh book is, and I can thank my wife for this one because after she read the sixth one, like I said, I told you I think a few months ago, is that's my first ever cliffhanger. And she wrote it, or she finished it, and she looked at me and said, "Dude, you better finish this quick, or you're gonna have some really nasty reviews being left for this book." So I've been, diligently working on the thing, and I'm on pretty much my last chapter, and about ready to finish it there. Because I know full well what it's like to read a book, being like, "Oh, this is great," and you start watching the amount of pages left, and you're like, how in the world are they going to wrap this up in like less than 100 pages? We're down to 50. Dude, this is going to tick me off if he doesn't finish this. And so I'm going to put a little note at the end of the one when I release it saying, don't kill me. The other one's about ready to come out. So we'll see how well that works.
Please don't give me 1 star. It's coming soon, I swear.
Yeah, exactly.
What you have to do is, as soon as the next one is out, you have to change the blurb for that one to mention, the sequel is available now.
Exactly.
So
yeah, you could even put a pre-order up, maybe, if you have the covers ready.
Actually, I do have the cover ready. So I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, well, all I have to do now is worry about getting edited and clean up. I've already done writing it. I could probably put it like 2-3 weeks and say, this is when it's going to be out, and I should be able to make that. So. I said I don't really do too many pre-orders there, but I figured I can give that one a try.
Yeah, I actually did a pre-order, very brief one on Amazon the very first time with the last pen name book I put out about a week ago. And the reason I decided to do it was and it's for like 5 days, was so that because the time before they'd gotten really slower, it seems like in 2015, maybe it's just me, but a couple times the books like hung in the publishing state for a couple days, whereas in the past I almost always knew it was going to be up within a couple hours. So I just decided to make sure it was up the day I wanted it to be up, and also it kind of helped with starting to get on a list already. This was like a time travel story. It's not a very hard list to get on. So that was useful, I think. I was glad I didn't do any more days than that on Amazon because it's better to get that big bump at the beginning, it seems like. But
right.
It did seem to appear in the also bots for other books more quickly. So And my other bit of news is I'm finally going to get the book soon that I've been done with since early January and been waiting on the cover art. This is like a more complicated cover art. There was a photo shoot and picking a model and having a costume designed, and it's like way more money than I've ever spent on a cover, so I'm really hoping it'll really help with sales because it just look really cool. And
Well, did you put a dragon on the cover?
No, there's no dragons in this story. They're also, I hear they're hard to get them to come to photo shoots.
Yeah.
So in a couple weeks, I should actually have a new release under my own name, so that'll be fun.
That's
Nice.
good.
All right, so we're going to talk about bundles and some other things as we said, but I thought it'd be fun to start out with just us talking about like a couple of things we've maybe done recently that's really helped with our sales, because we're always playing around and experimenting, and then maybe a couple of things that's either kind of been a mistake or a waste of time. And I have something for both, but let me see if do you guys have anything you want to like? Is there anything you've done recently that's been really helpful?
I've done one thing where usually what I've done it for a good long while, and I stopped doing it for probably a month or so, and I stopped messing with the keywords because I got tired of it because it was pretty much like a nightly routine where I'd go in there and I'd maybe change the keywords around, change the category around, just to try and drum up some extra sales there. And I was like, you know what, is this really working? Am I just wasting my time every single month? So every single day, so I stopped doing it. And just for kicks and giggles, about 4 or 5 days ago, I decided to go back to it just to see if it helps. Because when you log into KDP, you've got that cool little bar graph, and the last thing you want to see is slanting down. So I decided to start tinkering with it again, and it instantly turned around and went right back up. So it helps. It really does.
That's interesting. Are you doing the keywords, like, I don't know if you've seen that, keyword browsing categories or whatever, that you can choose to get into kind of the hidden categories on Amazon? Or are you just kind of going like epic fantasy, adult novels, or comedic fantasy?
I've chosen some of mine. I'll put like the basics. I'll put like fantasy. I put science fiction. I've done like wizard and witches, which I know is a category. I did like action and adventure. I mean, just a couple of the real generic stuff there, and then I'll pick like one or two that are really specific to the book there that I've just because I'll look them up as well. I want to make sure I get the right keywords in there. And like I said, every once in a while I'll switch it for say the extra word being dragon. I'll switch it to magic, or maybe I'll switch it to a portal, or I'll switch it to something like that. And it's weird to say this, but every time I do it, I see that line turn around and it spikes a little bit. So it helps. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, it could be a mix of both the keywords as well as the categories, but I just kind of tinker around with it because I can, for instance, in the categories, I've got most of them set to. I've switched between epic fantasy. It's got a little bit of historic fantasy as I put them in there. I've hit sagas before. I put like as soon as that light category came out because I consider my books lighthearted, so I chose that. That sucker skyrocketed as soon as I chose light in there because it's a brand new category, and I've had a lot of sales because of that. I mean, I just kind of look see like what other categories could my books fall in, and then kind of just maybe switch them over to that for a couple days, and I'll watch that line go up. Then once I see it's like level off and start to go down a little bit, it's time to switch it and try something else. It works.
All right, I'm now going to be hunting over here for light fantasy, or I don't know that category, wherever you snuck
well,
in.
It was just it just said light novels, and you've got it's essentially a light novel or and oddly enough, some sort of like Boy Scout type novel. I'm looking at that one going no, but it just says the word light novel. I'm like, okay, well I consider my novels lighthearted, so that'll work. It's done really well.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on here before too, that it's definitely worth looking around and just not assuming that all of the fantasy categories are under fantasy, because there's one under like men's adventuring, and there's a women's fiction or something, a fantasy under that. So it's worth playing around and seeing if there's somewhere you can be in a top 100,
I just wish they'd give more fantasy categories like they did for sci-fi. I mean, you've seen how that thing just blew up, alien encounter and this and this and this and this. And I look at the fantasy as like epic, historical, urban. I'm like, really? Come on, there's other categories that are in there, but what can you do?
Yeah, it's usually a shock for me if there's actually more than 2 things I can choose for one of my books. So.
Yes, seriously.
All right.
Yep.
Keywords for Jeff. What's up, Joe?
I've never changed I should probably overhaul my blurb and keywords. I've not touched the keywords and stuff for my first book since it was published, so 5 years has not changed. Probably time to reassess. But I had a couple. I did the pre-order for Sky Keep. It's been going since January, so it's almost the maximum length pre-order on Amazon, which is 3 months. And at the beginning of March, I made Free Ranch, the first book in the series, free. And it's not perma-free, it's only going to be free for a month. And I wasn't sure how effective that was going to be because, I mean, long tail is a big thing in ebooks, so I thought maybe the only reason that perma-free had been helping me is because it was such a long-term thing. But the even the sort of short-term one is really helping out. Not the least of the reasons is because it was picked up by Pixel of Ink 2 or 3 days into the sales period, so it had a huge spike right at the beginning. And then oddly enough, 2 weeks later, the Book of Deacon, my first perma-free book, also got picked up by Pixel of Ink again, although it had only half the impact, I guess because it's been on there more than once before. So, and as a result of this this little mini perma-free, I'm definitely seeing a lot more pre-orders. I mean, it's not even a secondary series. It's my third series, more or less. So I wasn't expecting a huge amount of sales on it, but since I went perma-free, I've gotten over 100 pre-orders on Amazon, and I'm up over 100 pre-orders on every place but Amazon. So together, it's doing pretty good. And also, this free promo was not my idea. I mean, I was probably going to do something like this. I was planning on eventually making this one perma-free, but I had just had some really good luck. Free Wrench has been really popular for some reason in Australia and New Zealand on iBooks. Like that specifically, it's been promoted over there on 2 separate occasions. And the last time it happened, I mentioned that there was going to be a sequel. They said, do you want to do a free promo right before the sequel so we can include you for another promotion? And I said yes. And it worked. I just don't have any details on how many of these pre-orders and how much of this bump is directly a result of the Australia-New Zealand dollar. So I'll find out. I'll find out when Smashwords updates the full sales stuff. But
they actually asked you, hey, would you want to be in this promo? Do they ever get someone saying, no?
I'm never going to discount my books to the amount that you want, Apple. I turn you down. No, yeah, when they want to work with me, I certainly want to work with them. So I was like, absolutely, I'll do that.
Definitely.
And I got a screen print and everything because I need one because it's happening only in Australia and New Zealand. So even if I had an iPad, I wouldn't be able to see the promo. But yeah, that was my big thing, and it's helping me out, I feel.
Yeah, you can never discount foreign sales. Mine have never taken a huge leap, but they've steadily climbed over the last couple years since. I would say I've been about the same on iTunes, going through Smashwords, but on the Amazon UK, I mean, I'm thrilled. I've been making actually, mortgage payment kind of money just from the UK, so I'm just really excited that people over there are checking them out, and I think a lot of that is just having permafreeze. And now usually when you do sales for 99 cents, like BookBub and some of the other ones, mostly BookBub actually asks you for the UK links, and they just started asking for the Canadian links too. So, of course, it's really helpful if you can take out the step where people have to jump around and try to find your book on the other sites. Just give them a direct link.
Have you ever looked at your sales on Smashwords and that little sales and distribution report? Look at the thing for Apple, because that's where you typically see all the multiple countries. See a 3-letter abbreviation for some sort of dollar amount and go, what is that? And you actually have to go Google it to find out which country that's from.
Yeah, the Scandinavian currencies where it's all 7 different kinds of kroners. I'm always like, which one is that now?
Yeah, I had something that said 3 point something or other CHF. I'm looking going, I know that's not a Chinese franc. That doesn't work that way. So I looked it up. It's actually a Swiss franc. I'm like, okay, hey, cool. Wait, whatever. So.
Then you have to look it up, and you also have to see how excited you should be. Oh my gosh, 900 yen. Is that a lot of money? You look it up. Oh no.
Yes, 35 cents.
But hey, a sale's a sale.
Exactly right.
All right. For this kind of last couple of weeks, something I've done that's kind of helped out is, I've talked on here before how I'd like to eventually redo all the covers on my Emperor's Edge series books, but because they're 8 books, and I want to have them custom illustrated, I've just been sort of. I have finally found an artist that I think I'm going to contact see if she has time. The problem is I find someone and then they're backlogged, or they kind of go, 8? You want 8 covers? I'm busy. Because like the people that are really good are popular too. But so what I decided to do in the meantime is to redo the cover on my first 3 book collection. I've got the first 3 books in this series. Have been in an omnibus for probably a couple years now, and I've mentioned on here before, I think it's just a kind of jamming all 3 regular covers together, and the blurb was kind of like quick summary, book 1, book 2, book 3. And I thought I could improve upon that for people who don't have any familiarity with the series. I didn't think that would be much of a selling point. So I got a new cover. It wasn't anything really fancy. It's just kind of a photo manipulation thing, but it's got a sword on it. It looks, I guess, epic fantasy. And I redid the blurb to try to make it sound a little more exciting, like, oh, an assassin, bad guy has to work together with a good guy, and they got to save the empire, and blah, blah. It's a little more enticing in the blurb. But so I redid that cover, new blurb, and the reason I did it is I got a BookBub ad next month, and I went ahead and bought like ENT, and I'm trying to stack them so I have like ads for 5 days in a row. I'm going to drop it to 99 cents. And I'm hoping that cool things will happen there, because it's done okay in the past when I've advertised it, but not hugely so. But so just my news is though that just changing the cover and the blurb, went from like 100,000 sales ranking to right now it's been a couple weeks and it's 32,000. So it's actually at least doubled or tripled in sales, and it's like an $8 book, so it doesn't usually get a lot of sales, and it's not in any lists or anything. So it just seems like just doing the cover and the blurb alone, I haven't mentioned it anywhere or anything, was enough to, it's like, oh, it's actually, making more sales this month. And, when it's an $8 book, that's actually not insignificant if you're able to get, like, go from whatever, 20 sales to 80 or something like that. So I guess my tip would be to, play around with things if you can. And that was my way around not doing the whole entire series yet, even though it needs new covers. So this was a cheaper workaround. So I'll report in later how the actual sales went, but it's off to a good start, I think.
I think I definitely need to redo my blurbs too. They've been out there for a good long while.
Yeah, I need to. I have so many books and novellas and short stories out there that it's sort of daunting. I'm just kind of reevaluating them now as a, like one at a time, whenever, like if I'm publishing a new one in the series or something. So I actually started out wanting to write my blurbs so that they were very specific about kind of the cool, what makes this story different. Why would somebody who's tired of whatever fantasy want to check it out? And Libby Hawker, she was just on a couple of the other podcasting shows, and she's got a book called Gotta Have It. I'll have to check and I'll put it in the show notes. But it's on writing blurbs, and she made the point that people don't really want really special and exotic. They want the same thing they know they already like. So be special and exotic in your story, but try to appeal to the masses in the blurb in a way that makes sense for your story. So that's what I've been thinking of more. And I mentioned before that I did my Dragon Blood 3-book set too back in January for an ad, and it's 99 cents, so it's a great deal. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make it sticky just by itself. But the blurb for that one seemed to really appeal to people, and it really 2 months later it's still selling a lot of copies. So anyway, yeah, blurbs, good thing. But so shall we? Do we have any things that we want to share now that we've told everybody how awesome we are? Some of the stupid mistakes we've made lately that maybe by sharing them they can avoid them.
Jeez, I was thinking about this, and usually this is my category, but I honestly cannot think of anything at the moment, so I will have to pass to Joe. I think he's got something that falls in this category.
I have a couple of things that I want to say they're stupid, but they certainly weren't as impactful as I was hoping. One of them I had low expectations for. I'm on Google Play now. All of my books are on Google Play. I didn't tinker with the price to try to match so that it would be exactly the same everywhere else. I just set the price arbitrarily higher. It's double price everywhere, so I didn't expect to have a lot of sales. I've earned about $50 in 2 months on Google Play, which is more than nothing, and I'm plenty happy with it. But it's not, I was sort of hoping in the back of my mind I might be some huge hit on Google Play without knowing why, and that didn't happen. But the other thing is, in the past, I've had a lot of success getting like the audience interested in a series by doing a character interview. I like character interviews, and the fans do. But I don't know if it's Facebook or just in general. I was posting at bad times of day, but I'm having a very hard time getting fans to sort of weigh in on. I would ask the fans 4 questions, and in the past I got more questions than I could handle. And this most recent one, I got a couple of people. Like, there was more or less a unanimous vote on who the interview should be, and by amazing coincidence, it happened to be one of the main characters of the book that is coming out next. So good for them picking somebody timely. But when it came time to get questions, I couldn't get any traction at all. I got 2 questions from one person, and then that's it. And I mentioned it 2 more times on Facebook, which is where I usually gather this information. So I don't know if, again, it's just a bad time to be asking these questions, or if Facebook once again fiddled with their formulas, and I'm just not showing up on as many pages as I used to. So a little bit disappointing there. In the past, I've had like people explode with excitement when they found, oh, so and so is being interviewed, and then freak out when they saw that their question had been answered, and they weighing in on whether or not they liked the answers. And this time around, I just can't get any questions. So. Not as effective as it has been.
I'll bet you it's Facebook.
Yeah, nothing like silence to make you feel like nobody cares.
Exactly. It's like, all right, here we go. Who wants to know what? And it's just like...
It's like Daffy Duck. Whenever he gets ready to do something in those cartoons, you hear the little crickets chirping. Or like...
Meanwhile, but you have to make up your own questions so you can pretend that people sent them in?
I'm going to have to fill in the blanks, I guess. I mean, the 2 questions were asked are totally going to be in it, but if I don't get any soon, then I'm just going to have to, like, well, let's go to the list and see what other questions were asked to other characters. It's going to be the talk show card now, where it's just like, oh, I understand you had an interesting history.
Maybe you can have one of the mouthy characters answer, and he can just go off on his own thing.
I could. There's some people who would be entertaining in that regard.
Yeah, I've actually found that if you're kind of in the middle of a series too, people are really excited because they're like in that mode of I can't wait for the next book, what's going to happen. Because I've done some of those character interviews too, like of who's going to be kind of starring in the next book in the series. And but once the series is over, because I have a forum that a fan set up too, and it used to get a lot more traffic when the series was active. But once you finish it, they could just read the next book and finish the series, and then so there's not people like with these burning questions. I don't know. I still do get emails every now and then about like, why'd you kill that character? I'm like, I did that 2 years ago, dude. But they just read it, so.
There's a couple of character deaths that I get emails for. Or even better, there's a character I'm not going to say because some people haven't read my stuff yet. But there's at least one character where I've gotten 6 or 7 different emails from fans who were pitching ways in which that character might not actually be dead. They're like, well, if this happened, or this happened, or this happened, you could bring that character back in the future. And I'm like, I could do that, I suppose, but I sort of don't like. I should say this in the podcast. If you give me an idea, I'm disinclined to use that idea because it's not my idea. At the very least, I didn't come up with it, so I don't really feel creative using it. And at the very worst, you might sue me for stealing your idea. So if you pitch something to me that you really want to happen, it's just going to decrease the chances that will actually happen, unless it was already my plan and I have some proof of that.
Yeah, I've had a few of those people write in, and I usually tell them, you're very creative, you should go write a book. But yeah, in the same way, I'll use things like I've done a couple contests where I had somebody like design a hat, and I did use the description almost, I changed it a little bit, but I used their description in the book, and because they were going to win a signed copy and to see the character's hat. But as far as major plot points go, yeah, I could see where you probably want to come up with those yourself. So for what I did, I wouldn't say it's stupid, maybe, but as far as waste of time, I think you have to be so smart with your time, especially, as a writer, and if you're really busy and you only have limited amount of time each day, which I suppose is everybody. Picking and choosing the things that are actually going to like get the next book out, and email is not one of those things. You want to be cool, and I want to be cool and respond to emails, of course, but I have learned to kind of do the writing first for the day and then kind of do emails at the end of the day when I'm half brain dead anyway. But in this case, because I've got the new book's cover, it's finally almost ready to go, but I've had the book ready to go. I decided I'm going to send out some early review copies without the cover. And what I wish I had done, well, I'll say what I did. What I did is basically I sent out an announcement to my whole email list, which is in the thousands now, and I know a lot of those people are because of my blog. They follow the self-publishing stuff, and I actually had people specifically write me and say, I've never read anything but you, but. Like, why are you on my list? Yeah, I do actually say on my website, I'm like, this is for book news. It's not for anything related to the blog. But so I got a lot. What I did is offer a review copy, and I said, if you would like a review copy of the next book in the new series, just send me a link that shows that you've reviewed one of my other books. I don't care which one. It could be a free one, anything. I just want to make sure to give the review copies to people who actually do reviews. And for some reason, I've done this before a couple years ago and had pretty good results, but I must have been talking too much and talking about too many other things in the email or something. But I got a lot of people that were like, I've never reviewed a book before, but I'd be interested in reviewing your book. And then I got people that are like, met the qualifications but didn't know how to like sideload the file onto their e-reader or open on their computer and all this stuff. I'm like, I was just trying to give away some free books so that hopefully I would get people that would leave reviews. Basically the first day I put it on sale. As a self-published author, we can't get the reviews on the pre-orders, so it's very useful, of course, if you can get reviews on the first day. And since this was a book one in a new series that I think could appeal to a lot of people, I thought I'd do more than my usual, which is just to say, if you want to be on the review team for this series, just show me that you reviewed the book, and I'll email you free copies in the future to review. Which is what I wish I had done for this one, is just kind of handpick some of the people who have reviewed my other series. So it's not horrible. I'm sure I'll get reviews out of it. It's just that my point is basically that I made a lot of work for myself, and what am I going to get out of it? Maybe 10 reviews on launch day, which is cool, but I made myself like 8 hours of work by giving myself all these emails to answer. So yeah, I would just not recommend that. It's cool when your list is small. I think you can do that, and that's probably what it was the last time I did this, because I remember having a better experience doing this a couple years ago. So in the future, I will, and it's sad because I want to be able to like get new people and get them on the review team and everything, but I would probably just kind of handpick based on people who have kind of emailed me in the past, and I know that they post reviews. So there's my thing. Try not to make extra work for yourself that's not going to pay off in some way, really.
Good advice. I would say good advice.
I think it's easy as a lot of people delude themselves to. At least I know when I'm being stupid, but they're like, I'm being so busy. I'm being really productive. I'm answering all these emails, and I'm doing blog tours and things, and it's so important to figure out which things you do actually get new books out and help sell books.
Yeah, you're not like you can trace direct income from words of fiction written, not so much words of correspondence written. So it's useful stuff, but you can't put a dollar value on it, so you're sort of like not paying yourself for that.
Yeah, it's your charity work or your customer service work that you have to do as a producer of a product, which is fine. I totally don't. On average day, maybe I get an email from a reader and an email from somebody wondering about self-publishing, and so it's not too overwhelming. But I just was like dreading. I'm still getting some, so I'm like dreading opening the inbox, and I'm like, oh, I got to answer all these, and I did it to myself. All right. So do you guys want to kind of switch tactics and talk a little bit about bundles? Because I think that's something a lot of people are either involved in or would like to be involved in. Maybe
Bring
just
it on.
talk about other experiences.
Yep. I guess we can start with Anna, Lindsay, and I were in the Epic bundle, which is still running. It's it's still in the horror category. Interestingly, it's got me in the horror category at least. I think it was last time I checked, like number 86 in the horror category. I've never written any horror, so that's a fun side effect that bundle can have. But yeah, that's the Epic Fantasy. It's 14 stories by 15 authors, and it was sort of the first really big multi-author bundle that I was a part of, and I'm very pleased with how it went, frankly.
Hmm.
The goal was, among other things, to get onto bestseller lists, like the big bestseller list, USA Today or New York Times. And it did not succeed in that regard, but it succeeded in another regard, which I was amazed at. I just got my check in the mail. I didn't do this to make money. This was, as far as I'm concerned, I was sort of budgeting this as an advertising expense almost. But I got paid, and that's always a good sign. So yeah, the Epic bundle at the very least, I'm very pleased with.
Yeah, that was my second big one. The other one was for my urban fantasy torrent, and that's probably my favorite one that I've been in so far. It was called 9 by Night, and we just took it down. We let it run for about 6-9 months or so, and I actually like it when they don't run forever, because at some point you may want to advertise that book and you can't get a BookBub or something because it's less than 99 cents somewhere else. So, but the Epic one was, I've actually been kind of I'm more interested in bundling my own stuff now than being in more of these, but considering how little work I put into it, I got the check today too because I just got home. I was like, oh, hey, that's nice. But I think having 14 authors, I definitely saw sell-through. I don't want to be sound ungrateful, but I felt like it was such a big project, and I think we talked before, if you're at the end of it, you probably don't get as much people checking it out if you're at the beginning of it. So, I definitely sold some books of the sequel, but I don't know, the reviews for it were kind of getting me down because it's such a low review average compared to my usual stuff. And
it's the lowest review average I have, too.
And so much of it's oh, I hate this YA stuff. And I'm like, oh, my characters are 30 and 40 something. Did you get to my book? Or
yeah, I don't know. I forget exactly where mine is. I know it's toward the end. And also the book that I have in there, because we were trying to shorten, because there was 14 stories, and you can only have a certain book size and still charge 99 cents. I swapped out my series starter for the shortest book I have in that series, which is not a series starter. It's almost a standalone. So I wasn't expecting any sell-through at all, and it's kind of hard to tell if I got any sell-through. But I got a couple of emails recently from people who discovered me because of the Epic bundle, so I know that I still had some impact.
Yeah, I did too, and so I think it's especially good whenever you've got a book that's already written and somebody's just like, hey, can we put this in your bundle? There's a pretty low amount of effort required. I've been approached about being in a couple that want new fiction, which I understand. Your readers are more likely to go out and buy that if every author in it has new stuff. But, it's would I make more releasing it on my own? And if it's something novel length, that's always going to be the case. As much as it's nice to get a little check, but if you wrote a whole new novel, you'd want more than that.
Yeah, but that's the one thing I've noticed of what Joe was saying is he was saying he's on the horror list. I was like, I've never been on the steampunk list. I've never been on the romance list, but this one, that Lindsay and I and a couple others have done there. Now that I think about it, all 4 of our books, they're not romance, but I've seen it pop up there a few times. I'm like, I'm checking the keywords. There's no keyword. There's no description that does not include the word romance anywhere. Yet there it is. I'm like, all right, hey, if someone wants to buy it, I just hope they don't leave me a negative review just because there's no romance in this thing. But
there's actually a romance. This is Jeff and I did one last year. He pretty much handled everything. This was kind of for Smashwords invitation, I think.
Right.
Is there 3? There's 4 of us in it, I think.
There are 4, yeah.
Yeah, and mine is kind of fantasy romance. It's not if they want any graphic details, they won't find that in there. But I don't know if that's in the book description or anything that would.
I don't recall it being in there, but somebody apparently thought it was, and I don't know how they modified it or recommended I don't know what, but hey, I'm not arguing. That's not how I classified it. But if it wants to bring in a few more people that check out the rest of the books, go right ahead.
Yeah, and the one we did, I think, probably didn't sell that much, and I didn't do much to promote it. So, because I think I was promoting another bundle at almost the same time, and I felt a little bad, like spamming the email list, and they'd already read it. But I think more than four authors is probably a good idea for these things, just to get more people that are able to email their lists. And
Right.
we also didn't have a three-dimensional cover, and I actually think that's really huge. I know Apple doesn't allow it, but
Yeah, that was one thing. That's how I first started corresponding with Mark Coker. He's like, no, you can't have this, can't have this. This is what I recommend is this and this. I'm looking and going, well, all the other ones that I look up have these three-dimensional covers, but apparently this is all for a Big Apple promo. I was like, all right, we'll jump through your hoops. So
yeah. Now when I do bundles with people, we usually have like an Apple version that's like that. That's just the flat, with the authors and the titles on the name, and then the 3D with you see all the books in the set, and it's such a dumb thing, but psychologically people see that and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting 10 books for 99 cents. Versus, when you look at the flat ones, it looks more like an anthology kind of thing where, oh, 4 authors wrote this book or something.
Yeah. Like it definitely. I mean, again, it's people judge a book by its cover, and in this case, you're seeing a brick of books. It's clearly more than one book, and there are plenty of books that are written by more than one author. And the other thing is too, a lot of them are collections of a collection of short stories is nice, but knowing it's a collection of full novels is nicer. So that again, the 3D view really hammers it home that you're getting whole books. So I understand the psychology behind it.
Yeah, and when you make your box, you should make them look nice and fat too. So. No, but it's actually an old trick from I remember seeing that like 15 years ago. You'd be downloading from some free software, but they'd show you like the big 3D box that you're like, but it's a free download. I'm never gonna see the box.
Now, as a computer tech, I mean, I get clients all the time that they buy that Microsoft Office Home and Student. They buy it at Staples or Walmart or something. They get it home, they open it up, and out slides a little business card that says, "Go to this website and download it yourself." I'm like, you just paid like $10 in packaging alone, and yet all you get is a little card where you're supposed to do it on your own dime, sort of thing. Oh well.
I haven't seen that one yet, but it may have been a while since I think TurboTax or something I buy. There's only like one thing left that actually. Even then, you have to choose that you want discs in the mail.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, psychological thing. If you're going to do a bundle, definitely put a version. I think everybody, like I said, except Apple. Kobo takes the 3D. Barnes & Noble takes it now. Amazon takes it. Smashwords, maybe not. Maybe?
No, Smashwords, I think, only has one cover file per book. So since they deliver it to Apple, they sort of have to least common denominator that they don't allow the 3D if it's going to go to Apple.
Yeah, so I mean you could do it, but then just specify don't send it to Apple.
Yeah, I think you can opt out of Apple and then it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Apple's worth it's worth jumping through a few hoops, and if you can actually get some traction over there, it's not insignificant money. So.
Yeah, Apple's my biggest hitter on Smashwords now. I just had to confirm that by looking. It doesn't look like it at first, but that's because my Barnes & Noble only has 2 currencies, and the Apple has like 9. So I have to do conversion and mental math and stuff to figure out, no, that's a higher number.
You have to calculate the yen.
Yeah. Like how's the strength of the Canadian and Australian dollar versus the U.S. dollar right now?
Yeah, well, I actually go direct to Barnes & Noble and Kobo now since they both allow it, but I do know a lot of international people in particular will still use Smashwords to go into Barnes & Noble. So.
Yeah, just don't mention that to Mark Coker when we're talking to him.
I started out doing Kobo, but then actually Kobo has like my favorite dashboard now out of all of them, I think. I like seeing where all the sales were and in the different countries.
Reminds me, Kobo through Smashwords has been giving me some trouble lately. Again, not to mention next week.
Yeah,
Jot
make a list.
it down on the list.
So, Mark, how come I haven't updated my books lately?
Oh, I don't know if we actually said this while we were on the air, but we have Mark Coker coming up as a guest in a couple of weeks, so or we should. So hopefully he won't bail on us now that we announced it.
April 7th.
Mark your calendars.
All right, so one more thing I would just say on the bundles, we kind of touched on this, is like I personally wouldn't go, I think if I was in charge of one, which, haha, we are going to do a perma-free one here, but I think 14 people was too many, in my opinion. I think if all you want to do is make a list, then maybe it makes sense. And I feel like maybe I'm an oddball because I could care less about that. Or I should say I could care less about making it with 14 other people because it seems like really, I'm not sure you can, because usually there was a couple people, yeah, there was a couple people who were basically carrying everybody else when it's that kind of thing. But I think in general, if your main goal is to get people to go on and buy the second book in your series, maybe like 8 people in the set would be better, just so people have more chance of actually getting through it. Which what we're going to try to do next is we're putting together a perma-free fantasy box set. I think we have Quest so far as the title.
Quest.
8 novels of fantasy, myth, and magic, or something like that. Something close. We're going to make it perma-free, so and the reason I wanted to do this, which is funny because I totally rejected the idea a few months ago. I think Jeff was saying we should make our box set perma-free, and I was like, oh no, make it 99 cents. Nobody's going to buy download something where all the books are already free. But I was talking to Adam Poe, who is my co-host on the writing podcast, and he, with his wife's books, they're kind of a team. They're doing an urban fantasy, paranormal kind of box set with like 13 authors or something like that, and they put it up in October as a free. Everybody's either was already free, their book was already free, or they were willing to, have it put out there for free. And, I haven't checked on it like this month, but last month when I checked, it was still like 150 overall in the free store on Amazon, which is a lot of downloads. Yeah, that's a lot of downloads every day. And all they did was, when they released it, they emailed their lists, basically all the authors, and I think they might have done a few ads, but they haven't done anything since then. It's just that for some reason, I guess it's a psychological thing again, even though all the books in that top 20 urban fantasy are free, seeing that they're getting 10 of them or whatever is just making that one just that much more appealing. So we're going to give it a try in the epic fantasy. When I looked last month, it didn't really look like there were any perma-free box sets. So we're going to try the same thing. And for all of us, the people we kind of picked are, people like me and Joe and Jeff that have had kind of our book ones perma-free out there for maybe 2 or 3 years. And it's, it's really hard to continue to keep getting high downloads on those, on the older books. Outside of, I will run a sale every now, or an advertisement every now and then, and that can help. But you sink down to like 5,000 in the free store or something, and you're like, is anybody actually, does this need to be free? Is it doing anything for me? So this is a way for all of us to try to get our books back up there, higher up in the epic fantasy, our free book ones. And so we will see. Adam told me that especially the first couple people in their set were, this was back in like December, we were talking about that they were seeing a significant bump in the sales in their book twos. And I think if, as more time goes by, it trickles, the people in the back of the set hopefully get some loving too. I don't know, I've never been in the front of one before, so this is our chance to, Joe's handling the formatting, so we'll see who ends up on top. I actually think since Joe's doing the formatting, you should put your book on there for sure.
We'll discuss it, we'll see.
Yeah, so just put your PayPal link in the show. Like, okay, you want to be up high? There's my PayPal. I accept bribes. Here's my address. Send me a pizza. That's fine. This is what kind I like.
But we'll see. I don't know if anybody actually listened to the show that's in the in the box set. We'll get nasty hate mail later. Oh, I'm last. So that's our next experiment. That you guys can it'll probably be ready in a couple weeks. The cover art's going along pretty quickly. I gotta send my file, and I'm the loser who Joe's like, I've gotten everybody's except for one.
Yeah, I got mine into them earlier today, so
That's right.
I'm out of the picture.
Okay, and my last thing on this topic, and I don't think you guys have you done bundled your own stuff yet?
Not
I,
yet.
I'm I'm thinking about making an omnibus, or if that's what you're referring to, like bundling a few of my books together. Just I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I've actually, you know, I like that. It doesn't always lead to huge sales, but it's sort of like if I talked about this before. I know when I was talking about the Dragon Blood set, it's like if you're trying to get a book by bad and you're getting rejected and rejected, if you can take a $9.99 box set and offer to them for 99 cents, yeah, it just seems like they want to really give the biggest discount to their readers or their subscribers. So it seems like so far I've never applied with a box set and been rejected. I even applied with like the Dragon Blood one around Christmas, which I think they were just booked solid, and they emailed back and said, "Okay, we want this. We don't have a slot for it now. Just email back in 2 weeks and we'll get you in." Which they'd never told me that before. Usually it's just, sorry, you've not been selected. So I think that's one reason to do it. And then, of course, it gets a deal to your readers too. It's a way to, give them $1 or $2 off, even when it's not bargain priced. Like my Emperor's Edge one is $7.99 or something, and it'd be like $10 if they had to buy the books individually, even with the first one being free. So it's a deal for them, but at the same time, you're guaranteed that they're getting the first 3 books, as opposed to, maybe they wouldn't like the first book that much, and maybe they wouldn't come on to buy the rest of the series. But I think if they get 3 at once, if you can get them to, and they actually read them at that point, they're going to be like more committed to your series than if they just read one. And of course, you get all the money. You don't have to split it with 14 other authors if if you have a good run. So I don't know, something I definitely recommend everybody do it. If you've got 4 books out or something, throw the first 3 in a box set. And I said before too, I think is you get another chance too with the blurb and the cover. You don't necessarily have to just use the same cover and the same blurb. Try a different angle, or maybe even try to go into a different category. So it's useful.
That's what
It
I'm waiting
works.
for. I'm going to do this. I literally just sent an email 2 days ago to my artist that like what I'm waiting on before I do it is getting I want a fresh new cover that sort of like doesn't look like any of the other covers. It's just sort of basic. I kept on referring to the Neverending Story cover for the actual book in the Neverending Story. I'm like something like
Ah,
that.
Yeah, that's actually the Dragon Blood one. She just found a kind of a gold dragon symbol, and it's a really simple cover. So
Yeah, I feel like that really works well for an like it sort of gives you an idea. We couldn't fit all of the ideas on the cover. It's too broad for a picture.
And it's also a way, because in mine I have like different characters in the first book and the second book who that series, so it would have been really hard to make it all cohesive. So I just like do something entirely different, and that seemed to really work. They're kind of steampunk books, but with that cover I went a little more epic fantasy adventure, so I could try to be in some different lists. And I wish I could say I was just being brilliant, but it was really more like I was confused on how the heck I'm going to do this blurb for a book where there's different sets of characters in the different books, and so I just did this generic like blurb and cover. Hey, it turned out to be what people want.
hey, let me guess. Writing the books was easier than writing the blurb.
I always find that to be true.
Likewise.
I wish, actually, I was just listening to the self-publishing podcast today. They had Libby Hawker on there, or maybe it was a week ago. I was listening to it today, and she mentioned that, one of them said, like, if you can afford it, it's actually not a bad idea to hire a copywriter to do your blurb for you, if you can find somebody that would actually read the book. And or I don't even know with traditional publishing if the blurb writers actually have read the book, because sometimes you wonder. But it's a different skill set, Copywriting to sell something is different than just entertaining with a story. So
Yeah, trying to sum up your own work in a couple of paragraphs and make it appealing so someone wants to buy it is, yeah, it's easier to write the book.
The comedian Patton Oswalt has a bit about bad blurb writing, which is kind of a weirdly specific thing, but he was able to read as a very young child the book A Clockwork Orange because the blurb made it seem like it was a young adult, teenagers in the future, like a happy, fun story forever for all ages. And then, you read it, and it's like a psychologically devastating book. And he's like, thanks to the terrible blurb writers, it shaped my psyche for years to come. So something tells me there's a fair amount of blurb writers who didn't actually read the book.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the blurb was on the Clan of the Cave Bear books, but I read those when I was way too young for them, and there's a lot of graphic details in the cave bedroll sharing department.
Yeah, I remember those. I read them when I was young too, and my mom's like, "Yeah, they're great," and I was like, "Okay, cool." I like anthropology and all this kind of stuff. So I'm reading it, and I get to one of those scenes. I'm like, "Mom, did you forget to tell me something about this?" First rights. You want to tell me what that is again?
And there's nothing on the cover. There's like a lady. The version I had, there's like a woman with a horse, in a valley. It's just there's nothing to tell you these are naughty books.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway, we have one very important final topic to talk about tonight, and I don't actually have anything to say about it, but Joe seemed really excited about it, so let's see what he has to share. It's swag and merchandising kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anytime I can show off a prop, I feel good. So it's really quick. A few weeks, this is sort of for people who are watching, not for people who are listening, but you can just find the video on the site and jump to the end if you want to see it after you listen to it. I've shown off this thing before, this little amulet, which I made out of plastic. It's the size of a quarter, and it costs a nickel to make, but not really. It costs an awful lot more because it takes time and effort to do it. But that was really neat, and a lot of people on the fan page liked it. So I went to a website called Shapeways, and Shapeways can print in stainless steel, which is neat. But more so, they can print in stainless steel enrobed in gold. So this is an actual piece. I like that it's catching the light there. This is an actual piece of steel jewelry with gold plating. And somebody bought one. I didn't even really make the purchase link available. I just mentioned that it was, you can buy this. And then someone finally got it out of me. So I linked it in the comments for the Facebook page. And then somebody bought one. So this is $19 to buy. Again, about the size of a quarter. It's actual gold, and it's also stainless steel. That was super duper neat.
That puppy will not rust.
No, it will not. It won't rust or tarnish. The only thing, you sort of have to... it's got a very intricate thing on the front, which actually technically violates their standard. Their standards are a little bit too... This little line here is too small, but they let me get away with it because it wouldn't actually damage the thing if it printed wrong. But sometimes dust apparently will get stuck in there during the process. So be forewarned. Let the buyer beware.
So
it still looks cool.
Is this a 3D printed thing that you're doing based off some symbol amulet in your books?
There is. This is the mark. My books. We were talking about having a very general blurb. A general blurb fits my book perfectly because it's fairly general, and there are the Chosen, and this is the mark of the Chosen. So technically, there isn't an amulet like this in the books, but this is a very important mark as the series progresses. So let's say in the years following the trilogy, there'd probably be a fair number of these within various families. So I can, in the next book in the series, I can mention a few of these.
Put the link in so people can buy it while they're reading it.
Would you want your own amulet of the Chosen? Yeah. So that was cool, and I've had people say they want smaller ones so they could use them as earrings. I'm like, I don't think you're really. I gotta sell 2 of these. But still, I am gonna own one of them.
So
I
you
know the
didn't know
names
you
of the
were
2 people who want them.
you didn't know you were going to get in the jewelry designing business when you got into this?
No, the funny thing is, I only did it. I wasn't going to sell it at all. I wasn't going to put it on the website. But you have to when you upload to have them print something for you, you can just flip it to "I want this for sale" on your site. And I showed it off. Hey, look what I got in the mail. And enough people were like, "I want it," that I flipped it to sale. And again, one person actually bought it. And I know her name, and I thank her very much. I'm not going to mention on the air in case she doesn't want it.
And what's the name of the site that's doing these for you?
The name of the site is Shapeways, shapeways.com, and it's pretty cool. You don't need to know how to 3D print. You can have a file, and as long as it works, and they'll let you know if it works. and they'll even let you print it if it doesn't work. You just sort of eat the cost if it breaks. But yeah, shapeways.com, and it's pretty easy to use. They have a very good website. And I like I say, this costs $19, and it actually costs $16 to make. So I'm making the same $2 off of this that I would make off of an ebook.
Do they ship it out and handle the fulfillment?
They do the fulfillment. They box it up. The shipping is a little weird because they only really have the smallest box they have is pretty big. Like this could go in a padded envelope. It weighs a ½ ounce. It only needs one stamp. But they're gonna send it out in a box like about yay big. So it's $5 shipping for no matter what your order is. So it's a little bit like it's better if you're gonna I guess earrings would have worked better because you could order two and they throw them in the same box. But yeah, they do all the fulfillment. It's super duper simple. You don't get paid until you make $30 worth. So I gotta sell 15 more of those. But it's really cool. Like if you have any files that might be 3D printable or can get them, Shapeways will do it. And again, this is almost, I can't say it's the most expensive, but it's almost the most expensive. You can get actual solid gold or platinum, which would be like $2,000 at this size. But they have ones that like you can get this thing done in regular plastic for like $2. So there are affordable things like people might actually buy.
2,000 is for your ultra fans.
Yeah, yeah, people with an awful lot of disposable income.
But see, they're doubling as an investment because if the price of gold goes up someday after the zombie apocalypse or whatever, they're going to sell it for cigarettes and tequila.
It'll be great. I guess I should mention also very quickly, I'm also trying out book plates, which are little stickers you put in the front cover of your book. And I just ordered 50 of them, just a very simple design to see like what quality they are from a place called Bookplate Inc. And the idea would be if somebody doesn't want to buy an entire autographed paperback, then they can buy, or you can just send them an autographed bookplate, and then they can stick it in the front of the book they already have, or in the front of a different book if they want. The one I made says Ex Libris. Apparently that's a standard. In fact, that's written on almost all book plates, and some people call them Ex Libris instead of a book plate. And it just means from the books of, and so you write your name. It's a name tag. But it's a name tag that looks like the cover of my first book, and I will sign for you if you want me to.
And then once they stick the sign thing in the book, they have to keep it. They can't can't put it on eBay because it's signed by the author. But if you put their name in it, then
yeah, exactly. It's like they'll have to leave the Ex Libris blank and ask me not to write their name, and then they can sell an autographed copy that you can make your own.
Yeah, you have to let us know how well it turned out, how well it looks, and the quality of it. Because I've had quite a few fans from London say, like, man, I would really love to have signed copies of your books for my husband's birthday or something. How much would you charge to get the books from you over here to London? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I can go find out. And so I took the books in question. I went down to the UPS store and said, how much would it take to ship these things? Yeah, see, you're laughing now. You already know the answer to this. Yes. I went down to UPS and they said, how much would it charge them? They're like, okay, let's see. Huh. Yeah, just a moment. Well, okay. Well, it's going to be probably $120. I'm like, I'm not talking overnight air by, like a special private Learjet. You can go by canoe or rowboat. I don't care. Just what's your cheapest? Well, we could probably drop it down to maybe, if we just do like a normal air, like probably like maybe $90. I'm like, they're $14.95 a piece for these things. I'm not spending more in shipping than I'm going to do for the price of the books. So I had to call up that fan and went, you really don't want me to ship these things to you. I'm sorry. So.
Yeah, the UPS store literally told me not to use them when I went there one time for international. It was like, UPS isn't the best choice for international. And I was like, all right, yes. So what do you like? Go down to the post office.
Post office.
Yeah, I had only $50 there.
Yeah,
I had to ship a book to Ireland, in Dublin, Ireland, and I decided just for kicks and giggles, give UPS the benefit of the doubt, and they went, yeah, go down to the post office. I'm like, well, can you at least tell me? She's like, we can't touch the post office's price. Trust me, I say this number, you're gonna be tire tracks down to the post office. Post office, $18. That's how much it cost me to get it there, and even though it was sort of pricey, it's not nearly as bad as the $40-50 that UPS wants.
Yeah,
crazy.
All right. Well, I guess we've been chatting for about an hour here. More than we thought we had to say.
Yeah.
I always talk too much. But for anybody interested in the Shapeways or the bookplate thing, I will put those links on the site, marketingsff.com. And we actually had a few people leaving comments this week, so I'm going to go respond to those now. We're getting pretty popular. I think we're up to 12, at least maybe 13 loyal listeners. So we appreciate you coming by and you listening, especially if you're still here an hour into the show. Come by the site or YouTube channel, a science fiction and fantasy marketing podcast if you want to look on the air. And where else are we? We're probably, I'm going to go find out what's involved in getting into Stitcher. I guess that's another iTunes kind of pod place where podcasts are done. So thank you to everybody that's left a review. I think we're up to 3. We appreciate it, and if you haven't yet and would like to, we'd appreciate that too. And subscribe on YouTube if you feel like it, and leave a comment, say hi, let us know what you want to see in the future. We've got some good guests coming up. It won't always be us talking about our swag, so. But Joe will keep us updated because we got to know if we sell some of those $2,000 platinum ones.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen. I should make it an option just for the heck of it.
That would be hilarious. And put the link in the book. Don't forget that in the next book. You too can be part of the royal family.
For a one-time charge of...
Oh, man.
All right. I guess we're about it. So that we're about done, maybe should be the word. And so it's good talking to you guys. And see you next week.
Take it easy.